Welcome to Let's Talk Ball. I'm Thad Brown along with Carl Jones, former Syracuse University Division I corner. We are here every single week talking X's and O's with you, watching the All-22 game film for every Bills game. Bills and Bengals, Carl. A lot of talk about this one. There was a thought, maybe a hope, that the Bills' offense had improved, been solved, fixed, whatever you want to call it, coming out of the Tampa game. We sat here last week and said, not so fast, my friend. And it looked pretty much similar to what they were, Giants, Patriots, Jaguars, in this game against Cincinnati. But, Carl, I think the place I want to start with is that there wasn't one spot where you stand out, you look at that offense and say, that's the problem.
Yeah, when you watch the game, you're like, oh, man, Ken Dorsey's maybe not putting guys in the right positions. The play calling is not good, the scheme. Oh, some players aren't getting open. How about a combination of everything that we've kind of talked about every single Tuesday this year where, you know, maybe the receivers aren't getting open on a certain play where the protection is great and Josh Allen is bouncing around trying to find guys, or on certain plays the offensive line is getting whooped and the guys downfield are open. It will be at inopportune times where it's third down, Josh has to scramble, stuff like that. No one, I feel like outside of the scripted plays, because even at the end it was Josh just trying to make stuff happen. All 11 guys weren't doing their 111 at the same time, and that's what kind of led to the Bills being in a rut throughout the end game.
Ken Dorsey did have some of his typical issues. There were at least two plays where third down plays where there are two receivers so close that one Bengal could cover them. There was one play where literally Dalton Kincaid and Stephon Diggs fell over each other, and that ended up being a scramble throw to Kincaid, who's only open because after they fell, the Bengals were like, well, those guys are out of the play, and ignored it. So, Dorsey did have his issues. I thought Gabe Davis, a guy that I think we've been rather critical of in this space in general, had a better game than you would think. He was open at times when Josh Allen didn't see him, but it's just so many. Mitch Moore said after the game, it was one or two plays for all of us. And he's like, if you figure that 11 guys are on offense, well, that's 22 plays a game. The Bills had 60 snaps. That's a third of the game where you're screwing up. And I remember thinking like, well, that's just players speak. No, that's really what it was. I mean, every single guy took a turn making a mistake. Everybody in the offensive line, all the receivers, Josh Allen, everybody, had their moments. And when there's always someone, I wrote this in my column after the game, there are too many stoppers on this offense for them to be consistent, and that was what stuck out on film also, watching it again.
And the talking point out of this game, why didn't they go up-tempo? I know they talked to Sean McDermott about the game, Josh Allen, like, why didn't we go more up-tempo? It's hard to go up-tempo when you're incomplete, when passes aren't being completed. Like, It's hard to just, the pass fell on the ground, let's go get back on the ball. It doesn't work like that. So, I know that's maybe something that you can add to the tool belt going forward, but don't get it twisted. This rut that the Bills offense is in currently is much deeper than just, hey, go faster on offense. Like, guys aren't executing. That has nothing to do with how fast you line it up and snap the ball. So, like you said, that from Josh down to, even a couple of plays where the DB made a great play, but even when Diggs got jammed up a little bit on the slant, that wasn't Diggs winning his 111th right there.
Right.
All in all, the Bills offense just aren't executing across the board, and that's why they're putting up the point totals that they are.
Let me ask you about one of the things that was implied by Ken Dorsey on Monday was that they didn't want to go no huddle or up tempo in a couple spots because they started a lot of drives inside their own 15-yard line. And my thought was, now I can guess at why that would be. You're backed up, it's a little louder. Obviously the cost of a mistake there is higher. But as someone who played defensively, would you give me your take on why Dorsey might imply that up tempo from inside the 15 would be more of a problem?
Oh, when I heard that, I'm like, ooh. I know what that's like, especially at the collegiate level, because teams don't go as tempo as often in the NFL because the sign stealing thing, which is a real thing, would be even worse in the NFL. But I know so many times where the team's backed up on offense and we're at the Dome, and that ex-receiver has no idea what the play call is. He really has no idea. He's over there looking at this. He's not looking at his normal signal caller. He's looking at the receiver coach like, give me something. And it's much worse in the NFL because of how diverse the playbook is. So you can't go up-tempo all the time and just go off of hand signals. There's only so many hand signals you can use outside of 2-minute drill. So I know people want to see them go up-tempo 80% of the game, but how many times can you go this and all that good type of stuff and call different plays? You can't be diverse and go up-tempo. You got to have one or the other.
All right, individually from the offense, and you and I talked about this right before we started to record the podcast, there wasn't anybody who stood out either way. Like, if we rated the offensive players, all of them, 1 out of 10, everybody would have been between a 4 and a 6, right? And no one really stuck out. Like I said, I thought Gabe Davis was a little better. I think Khalil Shakir deserves more snaps. He doesn't get open immediately as much as you would like, but on the plays where Josh Allen has time and stays in the pocket, Shakir becomes dangerous because he will find space. So Deontay Hardy had 3 snaps in this game, and that might be too many for him on offense going forward because Shakir has been by far the better slot guy.
Yeah, I think going forward, I think the rotation should be Gabe Davis, Kincaid, Shakir, Diggs, and whatever snap rep count you want to do when 12 personnel and Knox comes back or whatever. But I think those 3 receivers, excluding Kincaid, need to be on the field in 3 receiver sets majority of the game. I mean, Trent Sherfield is solid, but I don't know why he would be on the field ahead of a Shakir unless it's a run blocking situation where you think Trent Sherfield gives you a better advantage as opposed to Shakir.
Speaking of run blocking, quick answer. The Bills handed off the running backs 8 times in this game. I watched the film and thought, I didn't need it anymore because there wasn't anything happening there. Am I wrong or no?
No, not wrong at all. You know how you're like, oh, yeah, run the ball and get some rhythm. Yeah, that wasn't going to help at all.
The rhythm was coming in the passing game. All right, defensive side of the ball. This side of the tape to me was way more fascinating because I think there was more that was maybe surprising that was revealed. Let me start with you talking about the secondary because that's where all the injuries are, all the changes. You know, by the end of the game, you had Rasul Douglas and Josh Norman playing corner, 2 guys that were on their couch 2 weeks ago. You know, well, let's see, Douglas was in Green Bay. Regardless, they were probably on a couch. They weren't in Buffalo. So
not no Buffalo couch.
Exactly, that's right. So with all the changes, and then obviously, you know, he had a whole half of Dorian Williams and Terrell Dodson. Give me your assessment on how the Bills tried to cover up for their issues there and how successful they were with it.
Yeah, so the Bills ran man coverage defense 43% of the time. That is an astronomical number for the Bills defense. It's the highest number that the Bengals have seen in a while because, quite frankly, why would you try to man up the Bengals receivers? You don't have the DBs to do it.
Nobody does.
Well, unfortunately for the Bills, the pass rush wasn't getting home, so they had to figure out different ways to kind of slow down the secondary, slow down the Bills receivers. So what they did on majority of their man reps, and I'm not kidding, maybe 1 or 2 they didn't do this, they would man up Jamar Chase, and the cornerback will literally say, you're not going inside and you're not getting anything underneath. You got to go deep, and there's a safety right above him, which basically tells everyone else on the field, good luck, you're on your own. And that's what basically the defense that the Bills played majority of the second half. In the first half, they tried some zone stuff, some zone pressure. Obviously, blitzing Joe Burrow and quarterbacks of his liking, this doesn't really work, to be honest. But that's what they tried, and that's what happens when you get 343 yards. 8 of 15 on 3rd down. Joe Burrow was just chilling back there, and quite frankly, it was kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't if you were Sean McDermott because you quite frankly didn't have an answer with the guys who were on the field.
Joe Burrow impressed me with how calm and composed he is in the pocket. Now, look, there's a lot of really good quarterbacks, you know, but Pat Mahomes is not a calm and composed guy. He's I'm going to go outside and make, you know, a play with my arm. Josh Allen is also that way. And there's no right or wrong. It's just different. But Joe Burrow, there was nothing that flustered him. He had no problem throwing out of phone booths. He had no problem throwing with pressure coming at him. Now, part of that also was the Bills ran 16 blitzes in this game, and if half of them were completely ineffective, I might be being generous, you know, because there were too many times, and we talked about this last week as well, when your blitzers at linebacker are Terrell Bernard and Jordan Poyer, and I'm going to leave Terrell Dodson out of this conversation, and maybe a little bit of Taylor Rapp, I don't think they blitzed him in this game. The point is, when your linebacker, quotes, blitzers are more like safeties, offensive linemen are just swallowing them up, and running backs too. Then there's one blitz where Terrell Bernard had a nice move and got in, but that is almost the exception that proves the rule. So the Bills can send pressure. And yeah, you might speed up the quarterback a little bit, but you're not really getting there. And there were 2 or 3 plays where the Bills sent 6, Joe Burrow sit back and said, okay, well, I know I've got one-on-one. I'm just going to go find the guy that's got leverage. Oh, look, there's Tyler Boyd with 3 yards of space on Micah Hyde. Here's an easy first down. And they're, you know, the Bills have to blitz, like you said, because they don't have the horses in the back end to cover all day long. But their blitz is so ineffective, like you said, damned if you do, damned if you don't.
I don't know the answer going forward against the elite passing games. Now, granted, the Chiefs' passing game isn't great, but you're still going to want to respect Patrick Mahomes. The Ravens' passing game isn't great, but Lamar Jackson is his own beast. But it's a bad matchup with the Bengals, point blank, period. I don't know with the players that they have on this roster now how you go attack Joe Burrow. Because you know how you, just like how you take advantage of Tom Brady and Peyton Manning, you get pressure with 4. Well, did the 4 get home against this weekend?
No.
And they haven't gotten home over the past month or so, which
right.
is kind of weird because in the beginning of the year when Von Miller wasn't there, they were kind of getting home and now they aren't. But that's a whole different discussion. Regardless, they got to figure out something because if they want to go play in February, they're going to have to go through that team, and it hasn't looked pretty the last 3 times.
Well, let's go to the front four quick and talk about that. Number one, Von Miller was totally ineffective. You know, and the improvement he made against Tampa Bay, which was, I thought, slight but noticeable, went away. He went back to where he was before that. There was one stunt where he came inside and helped create the one sack. So there was that play, but other than that, you know, totally irrelevant. Leonard Floyd has not kept up the pace that he started the year with. He's still good, okay, and maybe what he was doing the first month and a half probably shouldn't have been expected the rest of the year, but that level has dropped down. A.J. Epinesa, I'll get to Greg Rousseau in a second. A.J. Epinesa is back to where he was most of last year, where occasionally effective, a little push, not a big deal. And I think the big one is Ed Oliver. You know, since he's come back from the toe injury, and maybe it's still bothering him, he was good in this game, 7 out of 10, but the guy's been at 50 out of 10 the first month of the season. And when you drop that much, when the guy in the middle is no longer the game record that he's been, I mean, he got single blocked in a couple of run plays in this game where they just erased him with one guy. I mean, teams weren't getting rid of him with 2 guys a month ago. So all those things combined, that's why the front four, to me, has been not nearly good enough to help you when you got back-end issues.
And that speaks volumes because the Bengals front aren't world beaters.
Right.
Like no one is
they're better than they were, but they're average.
Yeah, like no one's ever going to claim the Bengals offensive line to be the Eagles or the Chiefs, and that's not encouraging. It spoke volumes when Sean McDermott felt as if to get pressure on Joe Burrow, he needed to blitz him.
10 blitzes in the first half alone.
That's not good. He did that in the first half. That wasn't like he felt like throughout the game I need to send pressure. He knew watching film, hey, look, my guys can't get home and forward. This is our game plan going in. That was troubling.
Right. He thought the better idea was to leave less guys on T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, and Jamar Chase. That was the game plan. And I can't say he's wrong. You know, no argument there. But it clearly didn't work. 21 points in the first half. Let's talk bright sides here, okay? I'm going to hit on the guy I liked a lot, and then I'll set you up for the guy I know you talked about a lot. Terrell Dodson had a really good game. And this was the second really good game he had in a row. His work in run fits has been exquisite at times. He is niftier, more clever with his body than you would think to get around blocks. He was strong reacting in a couple of spots. He had the very solid tackle on the 4th down play that got Buffalo off the field. Not a great play. He's just doing his 111th, but he did it. Now look, Terrell Dodson is limited athletically, and there were times where the Bengals did pick on him in pass coverage. But for what he has, what he brings to the table, you're getting 99.8% out of what Terrell Dodson can do, and that's more than you can say for a lot of these other guys. In the secondary, Rasul Douglas is the brand new guy. He's going to be a starter relatively soon, probably this weekend, frankly. And we talked a little about what other guy goes next to him. After this game, we thought it was Christian Benford. After this game, we may have to rediscuss that selection?
Dane Jackson played awesome. Let's tie it back to what I mentioned earlier. Because they were double teaming Jamar Chase, everyone else on the field was cover 0, which means there's no help. No one's saving you. If you get beat, they're scoring touchdowns. No one's helping you at all. And there were some reps where Dane Jackson was the guy who was getting help. But by and large, there were a bunch of them where he wasn't getting help. He's going up against Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins. I think he was matched up with Trent Irwin.
He had a couple chases, too, where he did all right. Yeah.
And the fact that he held his own, the nice open field tackle on Joe Mixon, that's a big boy. I don't know if you've ever seen Joe Mixon. Good luck tackling him.
That's a first down if he doesn't make that tackle, too. 10 yards at least.
He had a nice PBU on Tyler Boyd where the ball was underthrown and Burrow scrambled out, got that ball out of there.
And he's in man with his back to the ball, too. Turning around and getting that play is
no
big.
PI. So, he played awesome. You can say what you want about the deep ball that Joe Burrow underthrew. I'm a DB, so I'm of the belief it's not a catch until it's a catch. So it was a good job for him to come back.
Can I explain that one, too? To me, I thought that as you said, they were playing 2 men on Chase the whole game, right? So Chase goes deep. He's like, well, I know I got a safety over there. The problem was that the Bengals sent, I think it was Higgins, might have been Boyd, regardless, there was a second deep receiver that had Micah Hyde, who was the deep safety, had his attention. So now, I watched Dane Jackson on that play, and you can almost see what I thought, him think on the play, I got help. Oh, crap, no, I don't. No, I don't. And that's why Chase was open. Now, maybe I'm wrong, but that was what I thought on that play.
There's no way going into that play that Dane Jackson felt as if he should be underneath Jamar Chase for any circumstances. So you bring up a good point in that regard. Regardless, Dane Jackson, I know going into the game, we were like, all right, this might be the last time we see Dane on the field with Rasul Douglas coming in. With Benford banged up with the hammy, who knows how long he's out. Dane Jackson put a good performance on tape going forward for the Bills coaches. Be like, All right, we might have to do a little rotation again.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. If I were the Bills coaching staff, I would, let's say Benford's healthy, which may not be the case, but if he is, I would start Douglas and Benford, but I am putting Jackson in the moment I feel like there's any sort of issue with Christian Benford because Jackson played well. Real quick on the two new guys, Norman and Douglas. Norman was in a lot. He did have a terrible tackle on the play before the play. The second to last run on Joe Mixon, where the Bills actually shut down the middle and you need your corner to make a tackle there and you missed it. And that's the difference between 3rd and 7 and 3rd and 2. That's a huge play that no one talks about because you got Von Miller on the next play and Miller admitted he blew it and everybody who saw it knew he blew it. We don't got to analyze that. So Norman, to me, didn't have many opportunities and missed the one big one he had. As for Rasul Douglas, what did you think about his first game with the Bills? Certainly more time, I think, than they intended to play him.
Solid. I don't think he got targeted, if I'm not mistaken. But I think when you're new in the secondary, just don't have MAs, misassignments. And from what I saw, there weren't any MAs. Quite frankly, it's kind of hard to have an MA when you're playing man coverage.
I was going to say, do you think Sean McDermott maybe did that because of all the new guys in there? It's just easier to say,
well, not
you go get that guy.
Well, not just Rasul Douglas. I mean, we got new linebackers out there. We got new
Cam Lewis played.
Cam Lewis is out there. So you know it's the easiest coverage that you've been playing since you was a little kid? Just guard the dude in front of you. So I think that kind of has something to do with why he played so much man coverage.
Anything else from this game, quick hitter-wise or anything at all? I think I'm all set. It wasn't, like we said, on offense, there is no quick fix because there is no one fix. There's so many different things that don't crop up all the time, but crop up enough to cause a problem. And then defensively, this team just doesn't have the bodies. And, I think we both probably agree that from what Sean McDermott had to work with, they got as much as you can get out of that defense.
Yeah, I think going forward, the offensive side of the ball is his own beast, like you just alluded to. But defensively, I know they played well enough, but turnovers have to happen. They have to. I don't care how many times that you allow a team to go up and down the field. If you don't take the ball away and help out that offense, and I know they're down. They're down so many players. If anything, the offense should be the people picking someone up. But they haven't gotten an interception from a DB since Micah Hyde in Week 4 against the Dolphins. That's not good. Mike Milano still leads the team with interceptions. That's not good. So they got to figure out ways to take the ball away because I don't care how many times you get off the field. You got to set up the offense with advantageous field position by taking the ball away.
Lightning round defensive scheme. If you're going to try and create turnovers, you got to blitz, and that means you got to be good with allowing balls to go over your head for 6 sometimes. Would you play that if you're Sean McDermott?
If I'm Sean McDermott at this point, I would. There's not many teams you're going to see with the Bengals firepower. With the remaining schedule that you have, I would say so, yes.
Second part of the lightning round. Next week is not one of those teams with Denver. Can you do something else, or do you have to chase against a team like that too? They haven't been good, but it's still Cortland Sutton, Jerry Jeudy, Russell Wilson. Those are guys who have success in this league.
I would still do it because, once again, if you're forcing the offense to go 80 yards down the field every single drive, that doesn't help them out either.
Your own offense,
excuse me. Set them up with some good field position from time to time because the Bengals sure got a couple of situations like that off the interception of Josh Allen.
A lot of questions the Bills have to answer and a lot of decisions that need to be made if this team is going to still be a competitive, close to elite team. I think making the playoffs right now is the goal. The Super Bowl, we'll push that down the road for a little while. All right. Every week you can see Carl and I here at RochesterFirst.com, on YouTube, and wherever you get your podcasts. Of course, you can't see it there, but you can listen. Your ears count for us as well. For Carl Jones, I'm Thad Brown. Thanks for watching and listening to Let's Talk Ball.